Lin Zexu was born in the Chinese province of Fujian in the year 1785 during the reign of the Qing dynasty. Lin was born into a poor family of Chinese farmers. However, he excelled in government exams and eventually became an official in the Qing government. During his time as the governor of the Hangzhou province, Lin Zexu gained huge popularity among the common people. Upon becoming governor, Lin removed all corrupt officials and reduced his personal expenses. Despite being a governor, Lin Zexu remained humble and lived a simple life. He banned luxurious meals and banquets and stated, "Although I hold a high position, I have pledged myself to be upright and honest, and never dare to take a penny beyond the limit. Being foolish and having too much wealth will increase your faults. Good poetry, simple clothes, light food, and some tea. I enjoy these blessings." During his time as governor, Lin Zexu also managed to save the lives of 100,000 flood victims by providing them with shelter during the flood, and he ordered the construction of anti-flooding infrastructure. Because of his achievements as the governor of the Hangzhou province, Lin Zexu was later appointed as the governor of the Gansu province in western China. Gansu was a diverse province which consisted of a huge Chinese Muslim population, which had previously suffered from discrimination at the hands of the government. However, when Lin Zexu became the governor of the province, he changed this trend of discrimination and stated, "I do not distinguish between Han Chinese and Muslim Chinese, and I only distinguish between good and bad." Due to his justice, Lin Zexu gained widespread popularity among the Muslims of China. Lin criticized the Qing government for being ignorant of different religions, cultures, and civilizations, and he called on them to learn more about the outside world. In order to increase his own knowledge about the outside world, Lin Zexu sent translators to Macau and ordered the translation of British newspapers. After reading these reports, Lin Zexu informed the Qing Emperor about the emerging Russian and British empires and their potential threat to China. He told the government about the British occupation of neighboring Afghanistan and the Russian expansion into Central Asia. In the face of these threats, Lin called on the emperor to increase military fortifications and improve Chinese weapons. Lin Zexu also translated English books on engineering and military technology and wrote a book entitled "Learning from the Advanced Skills of Foreigners." However, Lin's calls for reform fell on deaf ears, and China was soon plagued by an influx of opium, which was illegally smuggled into China by British merchants. Due to corrupt Chinese officials who accepted British bribes, thousands of tons of opium was smuggled into China, which led to an epidemic of illness and addiction in Chinese society. Because he hated the negative effects of opium on Chinese society, Lin informed the emperor of this problem. As a result, Lin was sent to the southern port of Canton in order to confront the British and their illegal drug smuggling. Lin Zexu took a fearless and strong stance against the British and seized 2 million kilograms of opium from British traders. He then ordered the opium to be destroyed and thrown into the sea. Lin Zexu then sent a warning to the British and stated, "No foreign ships will dare to smuggle opium into China again. If anyone brings opium with them, all their goods will be confiscated and the opium dealers will be executed." These actions shocked the British, who sent Admiral Charles Elliot to try and negotiate a deal with the Qing government in order to get compensation for their lost opium. However, Lin Zexu refused to give compensation to the British traders and wrote a letter to Queen Victoria, which stated, "How can you return injury for the benefit you have received by sending this poison to harm your benefactors? You are so obsessed with material gain that you have no concern whatsoever for the harm that you cause to others. Have you no conscience? Has China produced one item that is harmful to foreign countries? For instance, tea and rhubarb are so important to foreigners' livelihood that they consume them every day. I have heard that you strictly prohibit opium in your own country, indicating unmistakably that you know how harmful opium is. I have also heard that opium is not produced in Britain, and it is instead produced in your Indian colony, where the English people not only plant opium poppies, but also open factories to manufacture this terrible drug. I suggest that you destroy all of these opium plants and grow food crops instead, while issuing an order to punish anyone who dares to plant opium poppies again. A murderer of one person is subject to the death sentence. Just imagine how many people opium has killed. This is the rationale behind the new law, which says that any foreigner who brings opium to China will be sentenced to death by hanging or beheading. Our purpose is to eliminate this poison once and for all, and for the benefit of all mankind. However, this letter only increased the arrogance of the British, who declared war on China. In June 1840, a British army consisting of 48 ships and more than 4,000 soldiers imposed a blockade on the Chinese port of Guangdong. Lin Zexu reacted by ordering attacks against the British, who were defeated in many battles. After learning of their losses, the British sent hundreds of reinforcement warships to China. However, before these ships could arrive, the Qing Emperor exiled Lin Zexu to the remote province of Xinjiang, where he was appointed as a governor. The emperor then signed a peace treaty with the British. During his time in exile in the province of Xinjiang, Lin Zexu confronted another imperialist power, which was the Russian Empire. He ordered the fortification of the western border of China in order to protect the region from a potential Russian invasion. The province of Xinjiang was inhabited mostly by Uyghur Muslims. During his time as the governor of Xinjiang, Lin Zexu developed a close relationship with the local Uyghur Muslim population, and he addressed their grievances. Lin invested in new infrastructure in the region and constructed hundreds of wells and irrigation canals throughout the region. These wells and canals transformed the region from a dry desert into a fertile oasis, and the standard of living in the region increased. Lin also ordered Uyghur and Kazakh literature to be translated into the Chinese language in order to increase cultural understanding and unity in China. Lin Zexu continued to call for religious and cultural tolerance throughout his life, and stated, "The sea accepts the waters of 100 rivers. Its tolerance results in its greatness." During his stay in Xinjiang, Lin Zexu's Muslim landlord refused to accept his rent payment due to his hospitality. Therefore, Lin Zexu gave the Muslim man expensive gifts which were worth more than the rent. Lin Zexu eventually returned to mainland China, where he passed away in the year 1850 in the province of Guangdong.